I grew up believing my mother was the only person in the world I truly belonged to. We lived in a little house on the edge of town, small enough that every creak of the floorboards was familiar, and every shadow on the wall felt like part of our family. She told me stories at night, sang to me when storms rattled the roof, and held my hand as we walked to school in the mornings. We weren't rich, but we weren't poor either. She worked as a supervisor at the biggest restaurant in town, and I always had good food on my plate. Leftovers she carried home in foil parcels, smelling of butter and spice. For years, I thought our life was simple. But as I grew older, the gaps began to show. At school, I noticed my friends had siblings, cousins, aunts and uncles who came to cheer them on at recitals or birthday parties. They had fathers waiting with cars outside the school gates. I had none of that. It was always just me and Mum. "Where's our family?" I asked once, when I was 9. She paused while stirring a pot of soup, her face lit orange by the stove. "We'll visit them one day. They live far away." "When?" I pressed. "Soon," she promised. But soon never came. Every time I asked after that, she found a reason to delay. She was busy with work, or someone was sick, or it wasn't the right time. Eventually, I stopped asking. But the questions lingered, like whispers in my head. Whispers that grew louder when I noticed other people whispering about us, too. It started small. 2 women at the grocery store lowering their voices when I walked past. The boys at school muttering and smirking as if they knew something I didn't. At first, I thought it was paranoia. But the older I got, the stronger it became. The whispers followed me down streets, into classrooms, even through the church doors on Sunday mornings. One evening, I couldn't hold it in anymore. Mum had just come home, her face drawn and tired from the long shift, when I cornered her in the kitchen. "Why do people talk about us?" I demanded. "Why do they look at me like that?" Her hand shook as she set down her bag. She forced a smile, but her eyes betrayed her. "There's nothing mysterious, Gina. People gossip. That's all." I didn't believe her. That night, when the house was quiet and the only sound was the tick of the old clock in the hallway, I decided to find answers myself. I started by searching for my birth certificate. I needed something concrete, proof of who I was. I crept into her bedroom, careful not to wake her. The bottom drawer of her dresser was stiff, and when I pulled it open, the smell of old paper and cedar spilled out. That was when I saw them. 2 passports, lying side by side. I picked up the first one. Highs. The photograph was undeniably my mother, younger but the same face. But the name printed above it was not the name she used in town. My stomach twisted as I set it down and picked up the second. It was mine. The girl in the picture had my eyes, my nose, my crooked smile. But the name was wrong. It wasn't Katie Lawson, the name I'd answered to all my life. It was something else entirely. For a long moment, I couldn't breathe. The room tilted around me as if the floorboards had shifted. My heart hammered in my chest. Footsteps. I spun around, the passport still in my hand, as Mum stepped into the room. Her eyes went straight to the documents, then to my face. We stared at each other. "Why?" My voice cracked. "Why are there 2 names? Who am I, Mum?" She closed her eyes, and in that instant, I knew. She had been preparing for this moment, dreading it. "I was going to tell you," she whispered. "Tell me what?" I pressed. "That my life is a lie. That we're not who we say we are." Her lips trembled, but she spoke with a strange calmness. "We need new identities, Katie, for safety." I shook my head, gripping the passports as though they might burn me. Safety from what? Are we on the run? Her silence was answer enough. "No," she said finally, her voice low. "Not exactly, but it's safer if we start over. Safer for you." I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but the weight of the passports in my hand silenced me. They felt heavy, like proof of something I wasn't ready to accept. "What about my friends?" I whispered. "My school. My name." "You'll make new friends. The schools are better where we're going. And names are just words, Gina." I blinked. "Gina? That's your new name," she said softly. In that moment, something inside me cracked. Katie Lawson died, and Gina Marlowe was born. But as I lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, one truth burned brighter than all the lies. If my life could be rewritten with the stroke of a pen, Then my mother was hiding something much darker than a new name. And I was going to find out what it was. The morning after I found the passports, everything felt different. Mum made pancakes like nothing had happened, humming to herself as if last night's conversation had been a dream. But when she slid the plate in front of me and called me Gina instead of Katie, I flinched. The name felt foreign in my ears, like trying on clothes that didn't belong to me. I wanted to scream that I wasn't Gina, that I was Katie, the girl who grew up in this small town, who walked the same dirt road to school every morning, who knew the grocer's dog barked twice before wagging his tail. But the words died in my throat, because deep down, I already knew Katie was gone. School was worse. The whispers had grown bolder. That's her. I overheard one girl murmur, not even bothering to lower her voice. The one with the mum who. She cut herself off when I walked closer, her eyes darting away. The boys weren't subtle either. They smiked as I passed, nudging each other with elbows. Stay away. Mum had warned me more than once. Boys will get you in trouble. They'll ruin your future. At the time, I thought she meant heartbreak or distraction. But now I wondered if she feared something else. Something she wasn't telling me. That afternoon, I stayed late at school, sitting on the swings while the sun dipped low, painting the horizon in fire. I thought maybe if I lingered, I'd catch someone whispering about me again, maybe even hear the truth they were so eager to hide. Instead, I caught myself whispering, "Who am I?" I said to no one. Katie? Gina? Neither. The wind carried the question away, but no answer came back. By the time I walked home, the air was thick with the smell of rain. I found Mum at the table, papers spread out in front of her. She shoved them into a folder when she saw me, too quickly. "We're moving," she said, her tone brisk, final. My stomach dropped. "What? When?" "Tomorrow." I stayed at her. "Tomorrow? You can't just." "It's already decided." She looked at me then, and her eyes softened, pleading. "It's for the best, Gina." There it was again. That name. My name, and yet not mine. "Is this about the whispers?" I asked. My voice shook. "What are people saying about us? Why are you lying to me?" Her jaw tightened. "People gossip. That's all." "No, it's not all." My hands clenched into fists. "They know something. And you." I pointed at her. "You're hiding it from me." She stood, her chair scraping the floor, and for the first time I saw anger flash across her face. But it wasn't anger at me. It was fear disguised as rage. "Some things are better left buried," she said quietly. "You'll understand one day." I didn't want one day. I wanted answers now. But the next morning, I didn't get them. Instead, I found myself sitting in the passenger seat of our old car, my few belongings packed into boxes in the trunk. The town blurred past as Mum drove us away. Past the fields where I used to chase butterflies. Past the schoolyard swing set that still creaked when the wind pushed it. No goodbyes. No explanations. Just silence. We stopped hours later, in a new town with wider streets and shinier shops. The air smelled different here. Cleaner. Colder. Like even the wind didn't carry secrets. "This is home now," Mum said, forcing cheer into her voice. Home. The word felt hollow. She handed me a new school uniform the next morning. The tag still had the price on it. "Remember?" she said as she smoothed the fabric. "You're Gina now. Gina Marlowe. Say it out loud." I swallowed hard. Gina Marlowe. It sounded wrong, like someone else's name in my mouth. But at school, the teachers accepted it without question. The other students didn't whisper. "Not yet." Here, I was just another face in the crowd. For a while, I almost convinced myself it was a fresh start. Until the police came. It was late evening, the sky bruised purple, when the knock echoed at our door. Mum froze, spatula in hand, pancake batter dripping onto the stove. Then she forced a smile and opened the door. 2 officers stood there, hats in hand, eyes sharp. "Ms. Marlowe," one asked. "Yes," she said too quickly. "We need to speak with you. And your daughter." His gaze flicked to me, standing just behind her. My stomach twisted. Mum shook her head. "She doesn't need to be involved." "This concerns her as well," the officer insisted. "There's a court hearing scheduled. We'd like your cooperation." Court hearing. The words rang in my ears like a gunshot. When they left, Mum locked the door and leaned against it, her face pale. "What hearing?" I asked, my voice shaking. "What are they talking about?" Her lips parted, but no sound came. For once, she had no story prepared. That night, as she sat silent in her chair, staring at the wall, I made a promise to myself. If she wouldn't tell me the truth, I would find it myself, no matter what it cost. Curiosity can feel like hunger. It gnaws at you, keeps you awake at night, and no matter how much you try to distract yourself, it doesn't go away. That's how it was after the police came. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard their voices again. Court hearing concerns her as well. My mother's silence screamed louder than any whisper in the old town ever had. So I began my investigation. Quietly, at first. When Mum left for work, I searched through drawers, boxes, even the dusty suitcase she kept at the top of the wardrobe. Most of what I found was ordinary. Grocery receipts, expired coupons, a tangle of old necklaces. But tucked inside a brittle envelope, I found a photograph. 3 people stood in front of a modest house. A young girl, my mother, unmistakably, stood between a woman with kind eyes and a man with weathered hands. My grandparents, I realized. On the back, in faded ink, someone had written, Elena, Margaret, and Joe, 1984. Elena, my mother's real name. I stated it for a long time, trying to reconcile the woman I knew with the child in the picture. She looked innocent, untouched by secrets, not yet shadowed by fear. I needed more. At school, I snuck into the library during lunch, pretending to study but instead scrolling through old newspaper archives on the computer. The town we'd left behind was small enough that every scandal made the front page. It didn't take long. The headline was yellowed with age, but the words still bled with violence. Local woman found dead after reporting assault. My blood ran cold. The article told the story of a maid named Margaret Lawson, my grandmother, who worked for the Marlowe family. They were described as wealthy benefactors, pillars of the community. She had filed a police report accusing the family's eldest son, Elliot Marlowe, of raping her 12-year-old daughter, my mother. I felt bile rise in my throat as I read. 12? She was just a child. The article went on. Before the case could be heard, Margaret was found dead in her home. The police ruled it a burglary gone wrong. No arrests were made. But tucked in the middle of the article was one line that burned into my brain. Neighbors reported weeks of harassment and threats following the initial complaint. It was no burglary. They had silenced her. I pushed back from the computer, my hands shaking. My chest felt too tight, like the room itself was closing in. People around me laughed, whispered, swapped homework notes, oblivious to the storm tearing me apart. My grandmother had been murdered for telling the truth. My mother had been brutalized, her childhood stolen, and I was the product of that darkness, hidden under new names, shuffled from place to place like a piece of evidence nobody wanted found.